Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to take a look at the highly anticipated steel will roamer. Is it the knife everyone thought it would be? Let's take a look. Coming up right now on Living Survival. So this is the Steel Will Roamer 300. Now they do make several different models in the Roamer series. Let's first talk about this sheath. It's a plain nylon sheath. Comes with this backing that you attach to the sheath, which helps keep the knife in the sheath. It is functional, however, not quite as nice as Kydex, and I had to supply my own hardware. I don't know if that's just an oversight or if all of them don't come with the hardware to attach this back panel to the sheath. It seems like maybe an oversight there that they just added that to a nylon sheath. So not the best sheath, however, it is functional, and of course for the price, it's nice that you do get a functional sheath. So with that snap retention, nothing wiggles, it's not going to pop loose on you. And then on the back, you can wear this not only on a belt, but you could also clip it to a pack with the buttons. It does have positive lockup when you click it into the sheath, so that's nice. Even without the snaps, you're probably not going to lose this knife. Now this is the 300 model of the Steel Will Roamer. You can get them with black handles or orange handles. They do have this black tie coated blade here, D2 steel, which is nice. Something a little bit different from Steel Will as far as the blade steels that I'm used to seeing from them. Of course, you do have the TPE handle, so not quite as nice as G10, but it does give a lot of grip, not only in dry, but also in wet conditions. Now, I mentioned that there are 2 or 3 other models. Again, this is the 300. This has a 6.3 inch blade with 11.81 inches overall. If you go with the 305 model, that has a 5.5 inch blade, so a little bit smaller. And then they are coming out with the 315, which has a 4.5 inch blade. That one, however, will be 9CR 18 MOV versus the D2. So fairly familiar with D2 in the bushcraft style knives, so it should hold up really well to some batoning and light chopping. Let's take a closer look at the handle here. Again, that TPE material, which is very grippy. It does have a comfortable grip on the handle. If you have large hands, you'll have no problem with this blade. You can see I have plenty of length there to spare on the back. You can not only choke up, especially with that finger choil, you can choke up and lock right in, which is nice. Sort of your 2 fingers lock right in there, which is great. But then again, you have that extra room for larger hands, or to slide further back on the knife if you wanted to do some light duty chopping. So there's 3 tubes that pass through there, and then since it is full tang, it does protrude on the end of the handle there, good for glass breaking or crushing. Moving forward to the blade here, high saber grind with a secondary bevel, D2, so should have very good edge retention. Didn't come the sharpest out of the box, but I hit it a couple times with the ceramic rod, and it is razor sharp. No jimping on the bottom of the knife. There is a little bit of jimping here on the front of the blade where it rises up a little bit. A good place to hold your thumb if you wanted to get a little bit more precision, especially if you're in that forward choked up position in that choil there. You really have a good amount of control there over the blade. 0.2 inches thick at the spine of the knife, and although I didn't catch a weight on this knife, it is very well balanced and actually fairly light for the size of this knife. So very comfortable handle and very well balanced. So when looking at the Roamer compared to something like the Steel Will Gecko, which is a much higher priced knife, you can see the differences and the trade-offs that they made to get the price down. TPE handle over this G10 handle, which is sculpted in many different areas, really well tooled here with the different hardware. The knife itself has a bunch of different angles on it, so a little bit more time was spent there, and then of course different blade steel as well. But the Roamer, being again a utility style knife, in my opinion, gets the job done. It is comfortable, and it is a good alternative if you don't want to spend the money on something more expensive. With all my fixed blades, I like to start by batoning through some hardwoods. Here I have some oak. That's going to give me a good idea if that edge is going to hold up and not roll. You can see, even though you have that choil there, you do get a lot of real estate with that long blade to baton down some wood. This is some really hard oak here, so it's a great test for this knife. Feeling a little bit of shock in that handle. It kind of reminds me of Ontario knives, like the SP8. Tremendous amount of shock in that knife. Not bad, but it definitely is sending a little bit of shock through that handle there. So if it can make it through that tough oak with no problem, you won't have any issues with most wood. Let's give the tip a little bit of a workout here. Don't think you're gonna have any issues with that D2 steel and that saber grind. No problems. So whether you choke back just a little bit on this blade or you choke back to just a couple fingers, you can really get some good penetration out of that blade there for some light chops. Could easily take down a smaller tree if you had to. Not going to be an ultimate chopper, but can definitely do some light chopping. The extra blade length does give you a little bit of chopping capability, but again, you're really not going to rely on this knife for any heavy duty chopping, more so in a utility manner like creating stakes or creating notches, creating traps. It'll certainly get the job done for that, not only in a wilderness situation, but also in a more urban situation. This thick D2 blade gives you capabilities not only in the wilderness, but also in an urban environment. If you did have to cut a tin can open, for example, or you had to slice through some cardboard or drywall. One thing I did want to mention is how comfortable it is in the forward position. You can really get a great balance that way when choked up on the knife. It's very comfortable. There's zero hot spot. So again, in a utility sense, you could certainly go to work with this knife in that choked up position. So doing things like feathering when you're choked up are pretty easy with this knife. Now keep in mind, this is some hard oak, but it's going through it pretty easily. Now I myself always have a dedicated striker for my ferro rod, but nevertheless it is the question that everyone asks when you do a knife review is, will it strike a ferro rod? And you can get some sparks off of there, but with this coating on there and the spine isn't very sharp, you're going to have a rough time doing so. You could certainly put this into a vise and file down a section on the back of the spine here to allow it to be sharp enough to get a bunch of sparks, but just right out of the box, not going to do a very good job at that. So no rolls, chips, dings, or dents, that's good, but as with any knife, after a long day's use, you are going to want to touch up that blade. A few passes on a ceramic rod, and it'll be right back to super sharp. Now the $60 to $70 price range is a tough target to hit, especially for a knife of this caliber, but they've done so with cheaper components such as the sheath. I'm not a huge fan of the nylon. They could have gone with Kydex, and the TPE handle, not as nice as G10 for example. However, it gets the job done and it keeps the price down. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. Please give it a big thumbs up for me. please leave me a comment below and share this video to any friends or family who might be interested on your social media. And if you haven't done so already, please click that subscribe button. Subscribe to my channel for more videos.